everyone, welcome to Notes of the North Talks, a series where we get to know our local Canadian composer talent. Today I'm here with Daniel Janke. Thank you so much, Daniel, for taking the time to speak with me today.
Hi, my pleasure.
First and foremost, I'd love to get to know your background a little better, so where in Canada do you call home?
Well, I grew up in Ontario, and my first involvement in music was with gospel music. I played piano as a young person, and then I ended up going to university and studying music, and I played contrebass in the orchestra and became a composer. And and even later on, I moved. I live most of the time now. I live in Whitehorse, near Whitehorse, Yukon, northern Canada. But I work a lot of places, and you're calling me right now. I'm actually working in Berlin, in Germany, for a couple months.
Oh, fascinating. How do you think working in Europe may have shaped your work?
I don't know, that's hard to say. I worked a lot in Canada, in Toronto when I lived there, and there's more multiculturalism in Canada than there is in a lot of parts of Europe. It's really interesting. Germany has some elements of multiculturalism, big Turkish community, but a lot of neighborhoods aren't multi-ethnic at all. Whereas in Canada, I had much more of a multicultural experience.
Oh, okay. If you could describe your musical style in 3 words, what would they be?
Eclectic, contemporary, improvising. Those are a couple words.
Interesting. Could you elaborate a little more?
Well, I have a very eclectic background in music. I work a lot in jazz. I'm a composer. I do some film scores. I'm currently working, as I mentioned, with some singers, kind of in a contemporary opera genre. I played a lot of jazz and recorded jazz, but a lot of the music I play is improvised. So it's not jazz per se. It's more like improvisational genres they include jazz, but they're also just like free music or that sort of thing.
Yeah, interesting. What are some of your works that you feel best represent this musical style?
Wow, that's a good question. One piece that I really like is on a recent album I just released called Martha Black's Reel. And it's a piece for solo violin and prepared piano. Martha Black is on the album called Body in Motion. It's on the center discs. It's a piece that's kind of compromised. So the piece is scored, but the player has lots of options how they can play it. So they're also at the same time they're improvising a little bit as they play.
Interesting. Well, now if you could describe the Canadian composition style in 3 words, what would they be?
I think a lot of music is just described in terms of geography or titled or labeled or inspired by. I live in northern Canada, and every once in a while this comes in as an influence, but more in terms of the content, like the subject matter, or I don't know if it's the actual style of music. It's really hard to answer. I'm influenced by some contemporary Canadian composers. Claude Duvier is one, a French Canadian composer who lived in Paris. I guess R. Mary Schaeffer would be one, who was an English Canadian composer whose music is often very much associated with environment.
Yeah. Do any of your specific compositions connect you closer to Canada, I guess, in this geographical sense or heritage sense? Are there any of your works that you feel really represents Canada's musical culture?
I just did a piece, I wrote it a few years ago. It's called Loon Returns, and it's kind of an environmental operetta, and it takes place on a lake. And I would say that's probably it's about loons. They're a very Canadian, archetypical bird. That's one piece. Loon Returns is a kind of a piece that we just staged on McLean Lake near Whitehorse, Yukon. I did an album that is being released in January, where I wrote the music as part of a residency when I was in northern Canada, and so I found myself drawing on things like winter ice is one of the pieces. It kind of inspired by the sounds the ice makes in the winter underneath the river. Another piece is called Available Light. It's kind of inspired by the available light in northern Canada in the winter, which, as you know, there's less light than there is in the summer. So yeah, once again, I think our environment inspires us, but not so much specific music styles.
I see.
Maybe that's partly because most of the time I live in the middle of nowhere, and I'm not well, I don't teach. I'm not part of academic circles. A lot of my work is done while I'm traveling, like currently in Germany.
Right, I see. But definitely your surroundings and Canada's unique landscapes inspire some elements.
Yeah, I think we are, in many ways, we are our environment. A form of environmental determinism, I guess.
Right. What do you think is the role that composers play in Canada's cultural scene?
Whatever they choose, I think. You make your contribution politically, socially, and in whatever way you choose. Everybody's different, I guess.
Definitely composers can be integrated into the scene in various different ways, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's pop music scenes, there's all the different music scenes where, some people are specifically in a genre, and that's their thing, and that's what they do. They find success in many ways because they're specific, because they stick with one genre or one style. But oftentimes when you think of a composer, they're, by definition, they have a broader application of their skills. They're doing things similar to what I do, I guess. They're eclectic and diverse in their musical life.
I see. So, a little tougher question, but what has been one of the biggest challenges in your musical journey?
Well, being a composer is challenging, staying true to whatever your desires are and the realities of making a living. That's a challenge. I feel lucky I've been able to pursue my interests. Travel in a country like Canada is a challenge. I'm supposed to do some touring in the new year, and traveling around Canada is, expensive and arduous, and I find that it's just as easy to come to Europe. That's a geographical challenge.
I see.
But in general, we have it pretty good in Canada.
Do you find it difficult to appeal since musical audiences are ever changing? Do you ever find it difficult to write music that appeals to today's audiences?
Well, oftentimes I don't try. I mean, I'm of a certain generation. A lot of my music comes across as quite young, like in music in the jazz genre or the new music genre, film music. Can fit any generation. A lot of new music, contemporary music is kind of a smaller niche audience. One interesting thing is, like my daughter plays music now, and I actually just recorded some tracks for her new album. And I helped produce her other album, and she plays with a group in Halifax. And I really found it interesting. I'm recording these tracks for my daughter's album, and I'm thinking, wow, I hope they like it. Because she comes from a generation that, she's very plugged into kind of pop music and that genre, and that's what she does. And music may not necessarily be her full-time occupation. She's also, doing a master's student, but it's great that she is playing music. And yeah.
What is this album called?
Sundown. Yeah, the name of the album is Sundown, and her group is called Lanke. Lanke. Lanke.
Okay.
And Sundown. I'm not sure when it comes out, but you'll be able to check it out.
Yeah, for sure I will. So as a final message, is there anything you would like to share with young Canadians?
Well, I would say think of the art first. One of the things that I remember them teaching in, art school 101, or they should teach it anyway, is is become. You should know the difference between whether you're in love with the art in you or whether you're in love with you in the art. And obviously the answer is you have to be in love with the art in you. And that's the thing that's going to keep you going for the long term, being an artist. And social media, and especially pop music genre now, there's a lot of emphasis on the idea of being in love with oneself in the arts. It's a cultural sort of impetus. It's people can get on social media and promote themselves and create their own persona. And my advice would be buck that trend and focus on the art first.
I like that. Stay true to yourself first. Find your voice, right?
Put in your 10,000 hours.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking the time for this interview.
Thanks for calling. We'll talk again.
There's a dancing man in the field down there, but he can't do it all alone. His friends are coming and they'll be here soon. So far the bleachers are empty and the music is loud. That dancing man is ready, he's just waiting for the crowd. It's a party.